Afternoon, everybody. I would like to call to order April 8th council meeting. Will you please rise for a moment's silence, followed by the flag? Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And I'm sorry, this is the committee of the whole meeting. Sorry. Okay, subcommittees, infrastructure.
There's a
Council?
report in your packet.
All right, thank you.
And then transportation, there was no meeting.
All right, thank you. Ordinance Review Committee. All right, thank you. Economic Development and Business Liaison.
Good evening, Madam President,
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, and council members. So I'm sharing some real estate statistics with you this evening. The bulk of the properties that are for sale or for lease are in the downtown. There are 19 properties currently for sale or for lease. Followed by Flex Office has 8 properties, and TTN, which is Traditional Town Neighborhood, also has 8 properties. So obviously the bulk is, we're seeing the development as has been out on Route 100, the Walmart Shopping Center, Circle of Progress, but downtown continues to have many properties available. Of course, they are unique properties. The other thing that we're seeing in the marketplace is we have 49 properties listed for sale or for lease, but close to 23% of those properties are being offered either for sale or for lease, meaning you could purchase it, or if they can find a tenant, they will lease it. So they are hedging bets, is really what they're doing. Financially, I'd like to talk about development from an aspect of what we are seeing in the financial markets are uncertainty. That is the word. As you know, there has been a lot of uncertainty in the news cycle right now, and we are seeing that in the banking industry. Rates are going to continue to not necessarily come down. I used to say, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago, money was cheap to borrow. It is not now. So, and we continue to believe that's going to continue because the Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, finishes his term as of May, and there is no set person. Nobody knows who is going to head the Fed, and they are the ones that set interest rates. So what does that mean for the development community? It means that anybody that is investing in development that is either ground up or adaptive reuse, the money is expensive. And the longer the times that we take to approve projects or tell them no is difficult for them. So I just would like to say that working together with the development community working with the borough's new engineer, which we're looking forward to, as well as council, we want to make sure that we are being responsible with those people's dollars that are also investing in the borough. FET is up on the FET website, not for tickets, not for individual tickets, but for sponsorships. This year, because FET is happening on September 11th, which is the 25th anniversary of September of 9/11, 11% of the proceeds from sponsorship dollars and tickets are going to be given and shared with the Pottstown Fire Companies for the benefit of the Pottstown Fire Companies for their service. Retail. So there are 3 hot topic retails that are going on. There is the women's clothing shop on the 400 block. There is Once Upon a Time and Agnes Edmonds. They are all closing for a variety of different reasons. Each have individual circumstances where they are closing. I would encourage you to support those businesses while they are still in town. Gina Spees, who is Once Upon a Time, is running a sale. She is open tomorrow for the last time, up to 70% off. So please, if you can get there between 9 and 3, it would be great. 10 and 3, I'm sorry, 10 and 3. It would be great if you could support her. And Bridget of Agnes Edmonds is retiring. And if you have not noticed on social media, they are making appointments, and there are bridal dresses that are very, very affordable cost. So if you want a piece of Pottstown's history and say that you bought your dress from Agnes Edmonds, please make sure that you do that and make your appointments before May. So what's that mean about retail? Well, what we're seeing on the national stage is retail is flat except for Costco, Walmart, those large employers. They are making money. Those retailers are making money. We are not seeing that in the traditional sector. However, physical retail is not going away. Everybody believes that it's not going away because it's a form of entertainment. Having said that, you have to have a niche, and you have to have something that is going to bring people to your store. So entertainment is really important, the experience of it. So I would encourage anybody that is interested in opening a retail operation in the borough or anywhere for that matter, that they look for really what is going to make them different and make people want to come and support them. That's important. That's my report.
Okay. Do you want to do land bank, or was that part of it?
Nope.
Okay.
I would be happy to do land bank.
Okay.
So land bank did close out the fair grant. The fair grant was monies that was received to start, really, the ability to purchase properties, acquire properties, and then also support Genesis Housing, the whole home system repair, or repair system. So those are people that are financially under-resourced, that may need some help with some things that needed to be repaired in their home that could be costly. And Genesis was able to take subscriptions to that program and be able to make those repairs. So that fair grant has now closed out, and the monies are still there for the land bank to continue to acquire. We just haven't been able to acquire any properties lately. There are 2 properties that are still open, 421 Hale and 633 Walnut, and we hope we will be seeing completion on those projects by the end of the year. That is my report.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Business Improvement District, Councilor Manastro.
Yep, they've been working pretty hard. They are actively working to increase the foot traffic, support the businesses downtown, and improve the district conditions. They're doing some collaborations. They're trying to collaborate with Red Horse to expand their Pottstown nights with more activities, business specials, so to draw people for more than just those who go to a car show. In June, they're going to test an arts-focused fest activation in Smith Family Plaza to see whether it helps attract larger, more diverse crowds during the Pottstown nights. They also want to see if they can, during those car nights, maybe consolidate the food courts, the food trucks into one area, perhaps in the parking lot across the street from the terminal, so that becomes a food court, so that the street is more open, so nobody's blocking businesses. They're trying, okay? We're trying stuff. I don't know if this stuff's going to work. We're trying, all right? So we have an agreement with, we're doing promotion for the downtown. There's, we're collecting, and if you're not paying, we're not happy, and we're going to enforce that, okay? This is not a joke. We're trying to do stuff. We got all kinds of ideas. Let's see what happens. We welcome anybody else's ideas. If you got ideas in the downtown, go see Danielle and, anyway, and Art, okay? And, we got some ideas, but we got some ideas. We're gonna try to work this out and, try to do new things. We'll see what happens. That's the report.
Thank you. Okay, library, Caitlin Gladback. Is she? I didn't think so. Okay, all right. And Ricketts, Joe?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. First, I'd like to stress that, a lot of these, I'm going to go over a few programs that they have there. So highlight a few. And I want to stress that these are not community programs. These are Pottstown programs.
Mm-hmm.
It says in the name, Pottstown Community Center. It's not a neighborhood community center. So these are available for everyone who lives in Pottstown. Everyone, there's a lot of good programs here. A lot of good programs. And it'd be great if people could take advantage of what's available here. So I want people to keep that in mind as I go through some of these. They have a karate class Monday and Wednesday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Sponsored by the Philadelphia School of Korean Karate, age 7 and up. They have the fitness center, continues to be a beacon of light to the community. Weightlifting, nutrition, cardiovascular. They have the Bread of Life Mondays and Wednesdays at 8 to 10 a.m. They have an art situation there where the youth can continue to engage in drawing and poetry and color crafts. The Hill School comes down and participates with the young people with homework and assignments and activities, mentorship. How many people think CPR is important? It's a great skill to know, just to know CPR. They have CPR classes Tuesdays and Thursdays. Attendance is steady and it's very popular, but we need more people there to learn CPR. It's good that everyone knows CPR. They have a senior fitness class, low impact for seniors. Teen fitness there. They have basketball classes for age 8 to 18, different levels, beginners and more skilled basketball players. They have tap dancing classes, and ballet classes. Mondays and Wednesdays. Sisters United for Christ. They meet once on Monday, on Saturdays for faith-based learning and relationship building. But I just wanted to stress that there's a lot of programs there that people could take advantage of. Okay, so I wanted to stress that. Also, from what I understand, there was a situation recently where I guess there was a repair for a drain or something like that, and I'm not sure if I have the story totally correct, but I plan to deal with this. But apparently, there was something where a drain was fixed, something like that, and I guess it went back to the borough, and there was an issue with the draining, and now there's some possibility of one of the programs being canceled because of that situation. I plan to sit with Justin and the borough, and maybe a couple of the community members to sit down and see if we can get that straightened out. So that'll be my report.
Okay, thank you, Joe. That was a lot of information. I appreciate that. That was good. Thank you. Okay, Pottstown School District, Councilor Rose.
Yes, I attended the committee of a whole meeting on. I'm sorry, it was the committee of a whole meeting on March 19th. So they discussed there was a strong audit report for the 2024-25 fiscal year. They discussed their budget, and they're looking at a potential 3% tax increase for the upcoming school year. There were basically they voted on the school calendar for this year and then introduced the next school year calendar. And then there were some discussions around improvements to the various different buildings. So, and then at the end, they also talked about some of the recent student and staff successes, such as the Reading Olympics and the musical, And Laura brought up our recent Parks and Rec, winning an award. So that's everything.
Okay, thank you. And next, we have the Solicitor's General discussion.
Yes, thank you, President Lindsay. For tonight, Councilor Rose asked me to present on group homes and sober living homes, sort of, what they are, the law, the history of our ordinances, and what we might be able to effectively do moving forward. I will say to everyone on council, though, please, if there's ever anything that you think would be helpful for me to present on or for us to discuss that would be helpful to you or all of council, your constituents, please, let me know from month to month, and we can plan on that. As far as this topic, though, a group home is a place where people with protected disabilities live in a supportive family environment. It is a stable housing where people live for an extended period of time and not day to day or month to month. There are shared common areas such as a kitchen, living room, and bathrooms, which are maintained by the people who live there. It does not involve any type of specialized services being offered within the home, such as counseling. And again, this is the legal definition of what a group home is and what would qualify. In terms of disabilities, you qualify as disabled under the American with Disabilities Act if you are a person who has a physical or mental impairment that substantially limits one or more major life activity, a person who has a history or record of such an impairment, or a person who is perceived by others as having such an impairment. Examples of group homes serving the disabled are homes for the deaf, autism, eating disorders, and other physical, intellectual, and development disabilities. It also includes homes for individuals who are in active recovery from drug or alcohol addiction. These individuals who are protected by the American with Disabilities Act may not be discriminated against in terms of their housing options pursuant to the Fair Housing Act. The courts direct that group homes cannot be treated differently than traditional nuclear families in terms of housing laws and how housing laws are enforced. That means our zoning, rental requirements, and building and property maintenance codes cannot treat group homes any differently than they do you and your families. What is now commonly referred to as a sober living home is a type of group home for individuals in active recovery. They're usually a dry home with home rules, shared responsibilities for chores and upkeep, and a requirement that the occupants pursue and maintain employment, in addition to continuing outpatient treatment. When run properly, they truly can be powerful for someone seeking to establish and maintain sobriety. When run poorly, however, they can be dangerous both to the individual staying there and the community at large. For example, it's known that drug dealers will sometimes try to operate near sober living homes, tempting the individuals who live there into relapse. They're also known to increase homelessness. Individuals leaving inpatient treatment are more likely to relapse if they return to the situation they left with the same enablers, stressors, temptations, and dynamics. As it's been explained to me, people in treatment are often encouraged to seek out sober living homes located away from their home to try to give them a chance to break their cycles of addiction. The problem, though, is that if they relapse and are not properly supported by the sober living home operator, they quickly find themselves on the streets, actively using drugs and alcohol again, and really spiraling. The Fair Housing Act protections also allow operators to pack more people into a home than a typical family would occupy, which leads to noise, parking, and other complaints from neighbors. For these and other reasons, local public officials are thrust into the precarious position of trying to be responsive to complaints from their constituents about sober living homes and protecting the people who live in this particular type of group home, all while avoiding a violation of the American with Disabilities Act and the Fair Housing Act. What complicates this further is that there's a lot of misinformation out there about how municipalities can regulate sober living homes. One issue is that there's a lot of ordinances across the Commonwealth that regulate or zone sober living homes that are patently illegal. Either municipalities do not actually enforce the ordinances, or else no one ever challenged the ordinances. Whichever the answer, they are still illegal and problematic. Pottstown's ordinance used to fall into this category. It limited group homes to only one residential district and permitted it there by special exception. Several years ago, after the zoning hearing board denied an application filed by a group home, the borough got sued based on the illegality of the ordinance. This is another example of how Pottstown, unlike most municipalities, where they may operate without any risk of being challenged, you're always sort of under the risk of, a real risk of being challenged based on your actions. On the advice of our insurance company, the litigation settled. The insurer also directed that the ordinance no longer could be enforced unless and until it was modified and brought into compliance with the American with Disabilities Act and Fair Housing Act's protections. In 2024, Council adopted an amendment to the zoning ordinance that we believe better conforms to those protections. A copy of the ordinance is at your seat this evening. With the exception of unlicensed sober living homes, all group homes, including licensed sober living homes, are permitted by right within the borough's 2 residential districts, just the same as housing for traditional families. Licensed sober living homes are defined as those licensed through Pennsylvania's Department of Drug and Alcohol programs. The licensing program is intensive and establishes best practices. The regulations govern everything from intake and screening, personnel management, safety and emergency procedures, tenants' rights, medication control and administration, and complaints about the operation of the home. Information on licensed sober living homes is publicly available and can be accessed and searched on the DDAP's website. Complaints about these licensed sober living homes can also be made to that department, which will investigate the complaints, not the local municipality. Failing to meet the program standards will result in the loss of the license. The problem, though, is that the licensing program is voluntary. The Commonwealth tried to create incentive for sober living homes to obtain a license based on an attempt to limit the revenue for the homes. They tried to use the carrot instead of the stick because sober living homes can be quite lucrative in a way that is different than renting a single-family residence. The regulations for the license, the regulations prohibit treatment centers which receive state funding from referring patients to non-licensed sober living homes. It's an effort to try to cut off easy referrals and make it more difficult for sober living homes to maintain their occupancy. They had hoped this would work because, for example, a property here in town that might be rented to a family for $1,200 a month, if operated as a sober living home, which has an occupancy that would allow 8 individuals to stay there, if the property owner were to charge each of them, $300 a month, the operator is then able to get double the rent they would if they rented to a regular family. Per the ordinance, unlicensed sober living homes then are permitted by special exception in both districts. In order to obtain special exception approval, someone seeking to operate an unlicensed group sober living home needs to demonstrate compliance with the zoning ordinance to the zoning hearing board, and the neighbors and council are to provide a notice of the application and an opportunity to participate in the hearing. The special exception criteria are on page 2 of the ordinance. The zoning hearing board can also place reasonable conditions on a special exception approval based on the unique circumstances of the property and the use. The ordinance also more clearly established that group homes are not considered to be owner-occupied, so they require a rental license and are subject to the rental inspection program. In addition, the borough issued a letter last July to your state representatives requesting that they advocate for an expansion of the licensing program to include all sober living homes and basically make the program mandatory. A copy of that letter is also at your desk. It is my understanding that Senator Penny Cook and Representative Cerisi have engaged in discussions about a potential proposal on that front. Big picture, I know you all receive pressure from your constituents to address this issue. It is why we tried and continue to try to be transparent about the law and how it applies to this particular problem. At this point, I'm certainly more than happy to consider other proposals and do a legal review as far as what we're allowed to do under the Fair Housing Act. It is my opinion that at this point we are at or very near to the maximum that we can impose on sober living homes without dramatically increasing the borough's risk of liability. For that reason, probably the most constructive suggestion I can offer to you as counselors and your constituents is to advocate and lobby for a change at the state and federal levels with those protections. The protections in the American with Disabilities Act and Fair Housing Act are absolutely in place for a good purpose, but they're also absolutely being exploited to the detriment of to the people they're intended to protect. So that's a basic overview. Do you have any questions or thoughts?
Thank you. So thank you for my consideration of and presenting this. I mean, I just wanted to try to facilitate a conversation. So I heard some soft numbers that we have something like 80 recovery houses in our district or in our borough. So, and obviously we have some good actors that are, helping people on the behalf of, of those that are in the recovery program, but obviously we also have some bad actors. I was just trying to think of how we could talk about this, and I don't believe that anything's obviously gonna be resolved tonight, but I just thought it was a good idea to start a conversation, just to talk about it. I mean, yeah, I just wanted to get things kind of just start, if we could kind of brainstorm some ideas on how we might, I agree that you guys have put in place a lot of things that protects, the borough as well as, tries to limit this, but we've still got, properties that are out that we have recovery homes that are still operating out there. So I'm just trying to think of, how we might be able to address what we've got still outstanding. So.
Understood and appreciated. We've gone over this several times, and every time we found ways to strengthen it, so that's certainly welcome. Again, I just wanted to put in context, though, what the limitations are.
Right.
Because this is a uniquely different issue than a lot of the other things we deal with, and it makes, your hands are tied in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Unless you wanted to take on more risk.
Well, so I guess I have a question. So you said that you can, so if you're operating as a recovery home, you can have more people in a rental than you could if you were acting in a traditional rental sense, right? So what is the difference? Like, what is the differentiating element in that regard?
Yeah, it's the same standard for both. It's just that a typical family doesn't take care of or take advantage of the maximum occupancy of a home. Right?
Okay.
So let's say a home has, 4 bedrooms, and it's sufficiently sized that each room can fit 2 people into it.
Okay.
If a typical family is 3, 4, 5, 6 people, that's who's in there.
Right.
The group home operator is going to be able to put, let's say, 2 men in each of those rooms.
Right.
So they're going to max out, they seek to max out occupancy where the traditional family could. It could be your family plus your in-laws and, your niece all live with you together that you get to the 8.
Right.
It's just that usually a typical family's not operating at the same occupancy as a.
So there's no way to set a class system in terms of rentals, like in terms of what the occupancy, like let's say I was applying to turn a property into a rental, I would maybe set a class system like I'm going to be using this as a rental unit in which I'm going to have, well, I guess you do state how many units you're going to have within it, but I don't know. I may be talking myself out of this idea, so.
And they're all good questions, but
No, you're doing good.
sort of project where you're going, no, that's the rub. You've got to treat them as a family of people with the grandparents living in a home. And you can't classify them in any different way than that.
And we don't have, is there any way for us to know, where these properties are? Because, one of the things that I worry about is that there are properties out there with people who are in them that you don't know who they are. And I get that happens in terms of rentals too, but, I have an idea of a couple that are in my neighborhood, but I don't know who the people are in there. And we've got young families that are in town and, so I worry sometimes about that in terms of people who are in properties that we have no idea about, so.
Yeah, the way we best try to capture that is, again, by emphasizing that they need a rental license. So they've got to participate in the rental program, which, again, is going to get L&I in there to inspect the property, and they should be giving us tenant reports on an annual basis, in addition to applying for and getting their zoning approvals.
Right, but they're turning tenants over pretty quickly compared to somebody who is in a traditional rental situation.
Right.
So, what kind of tenant report are they presenting to us?
We require an annual tenancy report that lists, who the occupants are. That should be updated every time that changes. If we know about it, we can enforce it. There's no great tool for us to monitor that any other closely than typically if an issue pops up.
So is it's a tenancy report just like a document that somebody has, and then every time that a tenant changes are they supposed to file that with the borough?
Correct, with L&I.
Do we have any idea if they're being filed though?
I believe so. I mean, this has been a point of emphasis.
I mean, on the annual basis, it's a requirement to be filed. So if you don't file your tenant report, you don't get a rental license.
Right.
And you're operating an illegal rental, which then we can go after for code violations.
But you only have to do that once a year. That says that you had these tenants change within that time.
No, you're supposed to do it every time that it changes tenancy.
So if someone leaves, they good, and they got a new place, new job, and they bring somebody else in, they have to have another form.
Correct.
How is there a way to check that if someone has like 10 tenants in the year, and they're just filing their annual report as to who's there currently? Is there any way to?
Yeah, the reality is there is no great way to check that. Again, most of your enforcement is complaint-based. So, I mean, if the neighbors want to report it, it can be checked, but we don't have any real way to monitor all the rentals in the borough to see who's coming and going, you know? And if you get caught not updating it, you know, there is enforcement for that. And again, I do know L&I, because we help assist them with enforcement all the time for properties that don't file the annual report. Once you're in the system as a licensed property, they have a whole system that is monitoring, has this report been filed on an annual basis? And if it hasn't, I know they do notice the violation and do enforcement.
Okay. All right, that's got some gears turning here. So. Okay.
And obviously, they're not protected from our laws or ordinances. I mean, I have one on my block that's fairly benign, usually don't cause too many troubles, but, you know, there's others that people have issues with. So if they're trashing the place, you know, make a property maintenance report on the borough website, and, you know, I take care of it. If they're breaking the law, call the police.
Are those places typically categorized as residential as far as use classification?
Yeah, correct. They would be treated the same as a residential rental.
Is there any stance? Would it help us at all? Is there any stance for it to be possibly classified as like a assembly or a hotel situation? No.
Yeah,
not
I mean,
possible?
it's a fair question, but no. I mean, the federal law trumps however we want to classify. We are required to classify it as a group home, and we have to treat it the same as a single-family residence.
Okay. How diligent are they as far as making sure that the residents there are background checked as far as being around children and things like that? Is that whose responsibility is that? Is that the owner of the property or the county, or who's responsible to make sure all that paperwork is established?
Yeah, honest answer is I don't know.
Oh yeah, well, I think that'll be important to make sure that's in order.
Yeah, that could be something that's in the state requirement for licensed facilities, but we would have to check if they're running background checks. But you know, it's certainly not something that the borough does, nor I'm not sure we could do. Again, I think whenever we talk about this topic, the main thing to keep in mind is that because of the federal law, we have to treat this the same as every other residential property. So if we're running background checks on people in group homes, we would have to run them on every resident in the borough.
No, I wouldn't think that, because that's a special. It's not like a family moving in. It's a special. It's a special use almost. Because it's people who are not related living in one home. And I would think that, if there was someone living next to there with husband, wife, and a few kids, they would be concerned about, someone living there that's not supposed to be around children.
100% agree. I mean, and I think our residents 100% agree, and we hear them, and we understand that. But our thoughts on that don't align with the federal rules.
It's weird.
Any more questions for Matt? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Matt.
Thanks, man.
Okay, next we have the mayor's report.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Tonight, for my report, I would like to recognize someone whose work has quietly but profoundly shaped our community. So if Wendy Egolf could come to the front to receive a proclamation, I'd appreciate it. Wendy Egolf has dedicated more than 20 years to serving others through her work with the Salvation Army, beginning in 2005 by helping to launch its transitional housing program. Over the years, she's stepped into leadership roles that expanded her impact from shelter director to director of housing programs, overseeing critical services that have supported countless individuals and families in need. Wendy didn't just manage programs, she built them. She was instrumental in creating the Pottstown Works program, helping transform lives through job readiness and opportunity. She worked hand in hand with volunteers, secured funding, and turned vision into reality. But what stands out most for me about Wendy is not just what she built, it's how she showed up. She has been a collaborator, a connector, and a steady presence across our entire community. Whether working with county initiatives, coordinating resources like legal aid and healthcare, or leading efforts through TCN Homeless Services Committee, Wendy made sure people didn't fall through the cracks. She helped establish meaningful traditions like the Longest Night Memorial Service, ensuring dignity for all we've lost. She supported winter shelter efforts, stood beside families in moments of crisis, and helped guide our community through challenges like COVID-19 pandemic with calm, compassion, and strength. And before all of this, she had already dedicated her career to helping others in foster care, disability services, and elder care. That tells you everything you need to know. This isn't just what Wendy does, it's who she is. Wendy, your legacy is one of service, humility, and impact. You've made Pottstown stronger, more connected, and more compassionate. On behalf of the Borough of Pottstown, it's my privilege to thank you, to honor you, and to wish you all the very best on your retirement. Congratulations. I didn't read the formal one because it's too small and it's a live word. I'm gonna show guys.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Stephanie.
While the mayor gets seated, I just want to announce, there's a black Jetta in the parking lot with their lights on. If that's any of you, license plate MFY 2429, you might want to go check on that.
Okay, while you discussing that, you might as well go to the managers.
Were
You
you-
want-
Oh, I just want to thank Doug Slick for the nomination. And given the time and the length of our presentations this evening, I will continue my report on Monday, if that is okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes.
All right.
Great. There you go, Justin. Manager's report.
All right, good evening, everyone. So I'm going to keep mine quick tonight, too, given the length of the agenda, and I won't be to be continued on Monday. But I have two items for you. First is an update on the Franklin and Evans Street Bridge repairs. So these are now underway by Norfolk Southern. They've started this $1.2 million project for rehabilitation on both of these bridges. So Norfolk Southern's contractor, they've started with Franklin Street, which requires a full road closure during construction at this time. So once they get finished with the construction on Franklin Street, they'll be moving on to Evans Street, which will also require a full closure. So the plan is to get one bridge done at a time, reopen the roadway, and then close the other roadway and do the next bridge. The total project is about to, or projected to last about 3 months or so. So we do have a notification up there on our website of the road closure, and just bear with us as we get those repairs finished with Norfolk Southern. The next item I wanted to go over with you is an update on the Pico sidewalk repairs that are happening right here on the 0 block of 100. So at this point, they are nearing the completion of those replacements that were damaged due to an emergency underground electrical fire as a part of their infrastructure there in February. So as we discussed previously, Pico has been working with the borough to replace more than just the areas where they excavated, but actually, if you look at it, they've probably replaced about 50% of the sidewalks on this block. And, you know, really above and beyond the areas that were damaged by the work. So as a result, staff was able to work with them to coordinate their work into new tree well design standards that will be working on as a part of the Montgomery County 2040 grant program to address sidewalks that were damaged by street trees. So these are mostly going to be focused on the 300 and 400 blocks of High Street. But this Pico project actually gave us an opportunity to take advantage of something that was really not a good situation and turn it into something that's really going to be hopefully great for the borough in a lot of different ways. So as you can see in this first slide here, this is the former condition. We've got a street tree, very small tree pit. The sidewalks are being heaved up on either side. I mean, people familiar with the borough, they've probably seen this all over. But we are looking for solutions, and we have solutions for this. So if you could go to the next slide, Zach. So this is the sidewalk that was removed by Pico during their construction. And what we had them do is remove a bigger area of the tree pit. So they removed a approximately 6 foot by 14 foot rectangle area for the tree well. And then they'll come back in and they'll fill in the sidewalks around that 6 foot by 7 foot or 14 foot square. If you go to the next slide, Zach. So through the grant, what we are looking at doing is expanding, like we said, expanding the tree well. So that'll address the non-compliant, ADA compliant sidewalks that we have adjacent to the trees, and while also creating more adequate growing space for the long-term health of the tree. Also, the reduction of impervious surface area will be accomplished through the tree well enlargement, but also the brick-colored band that you see going around the tree is actually going to be a porous paving. And that's something that Montgomery County really liked in the grant application, and is really one of the things that helped us to get the funding to be able to do this project in about a dozen locations. And then last month, we put in another grant to take on another dozen locations. So, but really, the important thing is that the borough has an MS4 requirement. And that requirement requires us to infiltrate a certain amount of stormwater into the ground. So by enlarging the tree pit and adding the pervious paving, it helps us to meet the MS4 requirement. And then the other thing that we're doing is adding a 18-inch high ornamental metal fence, a tree guard fence, and that'll provide protection for the tree roots. But also helps deter pet waste. If you walk down the 0 block, you see a lot of signs on the trees about please pick up after your pet. So this should help to hopefully address some of that as well. But it will also prevent some of the pedestrian like compaction that might happen if you're stepping over the root areas and things like that. But we're also looking at opportunities to potentially brand the fencing with like a borough logo or something else. There's opportunities to be able to have panels incorporated into it so that you can kind of give it your own identity. And we're going to be looking for local metal shops to produce this for us. So we'll come up with the design, and then we'll be reaching out. And if there are any local metal shops that want to reach out to us, we'll put you on a list so that you can put in a bid when we put it out to bid. And then finally, we've got low maintenance ground cover plantings that are within the tree well area to kind of stabilize the soil and reduce the maintenance demands of that area. So this is really just the start, and it'll start to create a pattern and a rhythm and a standard for the streetscape. Next month, Simone Collins will be here on behalf of the bid to present on the streetscape plan that they did with paid and the bid. And while this wasn't directly something that was called for in the streetscape plan, they did call for what they were referring to as mini parklets in the borough parking lots, essentially mini green spaces to kind of liven up the area a little bit. And so we kind of took that idea of mini green spaces and are incorporating this into the tree well idea. So just wanted to give you a little preview of that. We're hoping to get underway with the work on that this summer. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, please feel free to let me know.
Justin, actually, I have a question.
Yeah.
For sidewalks, is there a minimum requirement that we need to have? Like I saw that, you have the space that goes behind. I was thinking about that. I have a tree that sits right out on my property, and something like this could be nice, but I'm thinking, is there a minimum requirement of how much space needs to be on the sidewalk at all times?
Yes, and that's really the advantage that we have on High Street and why we can do nicer things like this in the downtown area on High Street, because we've got we've got 15-foot wide sidewalks. And we only need 3 to 4 feet for pedestrian access. But even with this design, you're still going to get, between 8 and 10 feet pedestrian access past there. So well beyond the minimum needed for ADA. And I think that, one of the things that gave us a little bit of confidence to try to move forward with a higher level amenity like this is actually having the bid in place. As one of their services, they do pick up trash within the bid area. So, in the event that things get collected here, we have an entity that can pick that up. So again, having the bid allows you to be more confident about having nicer things put into the streetscape, into the downtown. And that concludes my report.
I was waiting for you to say that. Okay, we have a presentation from Parks and Rec, Agency of the Year, Michael Justin. Oh, it says Justin. I'm so excited. Don't drop it. This is so nice.
All right, good evening. While this award remains one of the most exciting accomplishments of the Parks and Recreation Department in the last 10 years, and certainly the highlight of my own career to date, I will keep this brief, as you've heard from Parks and Recreation a lot lately, and we don't want to monopolize your time or wear out our welcome. So therefore, please allow me to present to Borough Council, as representatives of the whole of the Pottstown community, this Pennsylvania Recreation and Park Society Agency of the Year Award for display to the general public in Borough Hall. This award represents the hard work and excellence of your Parks and Recreation staff, including Andy Graham, who has been with the department since 2014, Our maintenance staff, Anthony Rhodes and Timothy Landis, who have each served the borough in the Parks and Recreation Department since 2005, and Patricia McCloskey, who has participated in writing numerous successful grants for the Pottstown Parks in the last 6 years, exceeding $1 million. So this award also represents the dedication of numerous partner organizations that have collaborated with your Parks and Recreation Department in recent years, including the Napper family from Trilogy BMX, Ken Cass and the Friends of the Pottstown Rumble, Kathy Peretti and the Veterans Island Project, Ron Williams and the Powwow on Manatawny Creek, Marie Haig and the Pottstown Community Arts, Denise Williams and Pottstown Juneteenth, Pottstown Go Forth with Amy Wolf and Amy Bathurst Francis, and many, many more. Most of all, this award belongs to the taxpayers and residents of Pottstown. It is your park system and your parks department which has been recognized. Without you, there is nothing and there is no one to serve. Thank you for trusting us with your treasure and for giving us something to aspire to. As Parks and Rec professionals, we have the opportunity daily to make a real and practical impact on the lives of the people we serve. Our parks can elevate the quality of life of a neighborhood or boost the property value for a struggling municipality. We can provide the backyards for those who don't have one. Our programs may make enduring memories for young and old alike. Our events can breathe life into a struggling downtown. Through parks and programs great and small, we can be a meeting place between neighbors from 2 doors down or 2 counties over. We can provide enrichment through play or peace through reflection, to be peacefully alone or to be joyfully together. The potential for much that is good lives in these spaces. We believe that what we do makes Pottstown just a little bit better for having done it, and we're thankful for the opportunity to do it. Thank you for sharing this journey with us.
Mike, you're gonna just keep holding it, right?
He said he got it. It's just awkward, it's not fair at all.
That was beautiful, Michael. Again, when I seen it for the first time, it made me so emotional. So I was trying to be strong and not cry, but Alexa over here in tears and making me. So she gonna have to go because I can't. Because I was emotional. It was so like, can you imagine? I'm still in stars because our Parks and Rec beat out all the rest of them. Like, we are amazing. I'm saying we, but it's you guys. Okay, thank you. Wow, thank you. Presentation, Hobart's Run. I mean, I know that's a.
Incredibly unfair.
I didn't set this up. I'm just gonna let you know.
Incredibly unfair. Okay, thank you so much for having me this evening, everybody. For those who may not know me, my name is Alyssa Slade. I'm the Executive Director of Community Engagement and Economic Development for Hobart's Run. While I am new to the position, I am not new to community engagement. I serve the city of Reading through a similar role at Alvernia University, and I'm happy to be here tonight presenting on some of the newer initiatives that Hobart's Run has to offer. So for those that may be familiar with Hobart's Run, but maybe not so familiar with how we were started, we were launched in 2016 from the Hill School. Before the official launch, the Hill School consulted with different neighborhood initiatives launched by anchor institutions such as Trinity College, UPenn, and F&M, and held community meetings with residents to get their feedback. The advisors from these meetings said to start with a small and manageable focus area, hence the 600 parcels that we started with in 2017. Starting small was proven to be more successful and more sustainable, and from there we can partner with other neighborhood revitalization efforts. Then in 2020, we expanded to the 900 parcels that you see on the screen now, but many of our initiatives do go beyond that parcel coverage area. So as you can see on the screen, our mission statement shows that, yes, we were launched by the Hill School in 2016. We were established as a 501c3 in 2017, and our mission statement is to provide a clean and safe neighborhood, foster inclusivity, provide incentives for home ownership and property pride. The Adopt a Trash Can program is one of our borough-wide initiatives. This initiative started with just a few trash cans throughout the borough, and I'm sure many of you, if I asked you to raise your hands, you'd say you probably saw these trash cans. Today we have 103 and soon to be 104 of these litter fighting bins throughout the borough of Pottstown. Of course, the program participants agree that the presence of these bins leads to a decrease in litter on the streets, but studies have also shown that eliminating litter is changing people's behavior in a positive way and contributing to community pride. We accept sponsors for this program. If they are a business, they do have their logo on the can. And the adopters of these programs manage the cans weekly and take out the trash weekly. One program that I'm particularly excited to talk about tonight is our expanded homeowner incentive program. The HIP program provides home buyers the opportunity to receive a grant towards their closing costs. Thanks to the Pottstown Regional Community Foundation, we were able to expand our focus area and provide additional funding for this program through June 30th. In anticipation of the regional rail returning from Reading to Pottstown by 2030, this expanded focus area covers the transit corridor on High Street and the surrounding neighborhood. This neighborhood is what we call the Equitable Transit-Oriented Development District. This expansion is just one of the efforts that aims to reduce the risk of displacement in this area and prioritize legacy and long-term renters throughout the borough of Pottstown. We are still looking for applications for this, so please feel free to share. Eligibility requirements includes, of course, living within the Hobart's Run or the new ETOD focus area, and in partnership with Tri-County Federal Credit Union, participation in a financial literacy workshop is required prior to funding. In addition, we were also able to expand our facade improvement grant. We were able to triple our offering through June 30th from $500 to $1,500. FIG grants helps you restore and improve homes' street appeal. Eligible projects include painting, porch repair, step or sidewalk repair, and select landscaping work. Occasionally, we also increase these offerings through limited time partnerships. For example, throughout the 24-25 year, we partnered with Genesis Housing Corporation, and each organization allocated additional incentive money for 2 adjoining properties that would apply together. Throughout 24-25, we awarded 8 facade improvement grants for a total of $5,000. We're looking to award $6,000 just from January through June 30th, and we do have limited spots left, but we still encourage you to apply. And with my few remaining minutes, I'm going to go through just a couple of other ways that Hobarts is involved with the community. The Business Incentive Grant is one of the first things that I will quickly talk about. The Business Incentive Grant offers new businesses that open throughout the 500 to 900 blocks of East High Street $1,500 towards their first month's rent or their mortgage payment. Service days and service involvement, community cleanups, which I'm sure many people in the room have participated in, our involvement with the Edgewood Cemetery and those cleanups, MLK Day of Service, where we most recently partnered with the Hill School, where over 500 people participated in service events at over 20 different nonprofits throughout the borough, and Rock the Block, which I will highlight in a moment on its own slide. Another thing that Hobart's Run is proud to have is our Community Leaders Breakfast. We coordinate these monthly breakfasts for business, education, and nonprofit leaders. We bring them together for intentional networking and collaboration at different host sites throughout the borough. Our last one was at the Pottstown Hospital, and it was incredibly informative and just a great way to bring other leaders in the community together. Environmental stewardship, again, I will highlight this very quickly. We partner with Trellis for Tomorrow for the community garden that we have on Walnut Street. We also host litter initiatives and share our trash grabbers with neighbors, our tool share program, and our Go Green or Go Home community yard sale, which will happen on May 30th, which we do in partnership with Pottstown Cares, which is a youth group with Pottstown high school students and Hill High School students who are service-minded. And they come together and do this wonderful yard sale for the community. We're keeping things out of the landfills and donating to local organizations. Lighting and security initiatives. We're always looking for grants and support to enhance safety and security throughout the neighborhoods and surrounding areas. We actually will begin surveying residents in the North Adams area starting on Friday to get their feedback. Some other things, just briefly highlighting what we have done, the Beach Street lighting project right near the Ricketts Center. We've applied for security camera grants to support gaps that we have shown, and of course our block captains program, which are our eyes and our ears on the streets. The Ricketts Center, I would be remiss if I did not highlight this wonderful community center. We support them through ongoing service projects, which we heard earlier today, donations, advisory board support, and upcoming STEM programming projects that we're hoping to have Hill faculty come and do with the students there. Okay, and very quickly, I wanted to highlight this Rock the Block. In partnership with Habitat for Humanity and Pottstown Community Action, we're excited to be reviving the Rock the Block community cleanup. This happens the weekend after Earth Day, April 25th from 10 to 2, starting at the Ricketts Center. Our group was able to secure a full donation of mulch and annual flowers through Aquilante Landscaping to the Ricketts Center, so that's one of the major projects that we'll be working on that day. In addition to going out in the borough for block cleanups and a bid street cleanup that will be led by the new Main Street manager. Other various service projects, of course, include the Edgewood Cemetery cleanup as well. Habitat will be at the Ricketts Center throughout the day, hosting different homeowner repair workshops inside of the center. They also will be having their Habitat for Humanity Restore trucks. So if you have any spring cleaning to do, feel free to come and bring everything from your basement or wherever to donate that day. Ricketts also, I wanted to highlight this, will be having an NFL watch party at 12 throughout it. One of Pottstown's own and a student who went to the Ricketts Center is going to be drafted into the NFL, so that will be happening at the same time. And it will all start at 10 a.m. with community partner tabling at the Ricketts Center. We encourage everyone to come out. There are flyers up here, but even if you can't come for the whole time, we invite you to come for an hour, bring your kids, bring your family. It should be a really fun day. Thank you so much for your time this evening. We look forward to continuing to serve the borough.
Thank you. That's good. Okay, next presentation, Pottstown Housing Coalition.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing us to speak to you this evening. I think most of you know Mike and myself, but just as a matter of formality, I'm Doug Slick. I'm a resident of Pottstown. I volunteer with a number of NPOs servicing our homeless neighbors, and I also help the mayor in addressing issues of homelessness.
Mike Hayes, here tonight on behalf of the Montco 30% Project, not on behalf of my employer. Just pointing that out.
So the Housing Coalition actually was formed several years ago. This is a second iteration. And we have the advantage of having a number of the people who were in that original organization that have re-upped with us. And we're coming at it with a new sense of urgency and energy. And you can learn more about us at the website, which I just learned Ray developed for us. So thank you very much for that.
All right.
This is a partial list of the members of the coalition. It's a very large group, and it's a dynamic group. And these were the folks who I could get to tell me that they were okay with me publishing their names in such a way. But there's a lot more people involved, and I'm sure that everybody recognizes a lot of the names on this list. The nice thing about this group is that's exciting me is that we have people who are looking at all angles of the housing issues in town. And this is an unusual situation. We're not, on opposite sides of the divide at this point. We're working together, and everybody's bringing great energy. So why now? Well, these numbers are from the U.S. Census Bureau, and they are stunning. We assert that the borough is in a housing crisis right now, currently, especially those of our citizenry who are making less than $50,000 a year. They are especially vulnerable, and that includes, as you can see there, 1,458 homeowners, which is a shocker to me, but also, of course, 2,657 renters. 43% of our citizens are earning less than 50K. And overall, almost 60% of the renters are cost burdened, which is generally accepted to mean paying more than 30% of their income. I'm going to turn it over to Mike for the next couple slides. You wanna click?
Thank you, Doug. So about 2 months ago, the governor released a housing action plan. You probably heard about it, saw it in the news a little bit. It's a 44-page report. I'm going to attempt to highlight a few things that are pertinent to you as a borough council. Just to give it a little bit of context, our state has at least 16,500 homes on a housing repair list. Over half of our housing stock was built before 1970. And by 2035, we need to build about 450,000 new homes and apartments just to keep up with existing demand. It's really quite stark, but I think we can get there. You can read the full governor's report at dced.pa.gov. We're looking to work with local communities and housing stakeholders to advance common sense solutions that ensure housing opportunities for all residents across the state. A few things to point out that are contained within the plan and what I think it means to Pottstown. Modernize zoning to allow more homes in more places. Upzone residential and commercial areas to support higher density. Reduce excessive parking requirements. And remove restrictions on shared housing. Second point there, opt into DCED's Housing Ready Community designation once available. What does that mean? That's basically, it's a list of priority policy solutions that makes your township or borough a little bit more, more shovel-ready, so to speak, when a development might come in for workforce housing. Number 3, to digitize and streamline your local permitting to make it faster and easier for builders to get residential projects to the finish line, which I think we can all support. Use local financing tools like LRTA, abatements, and tax increment financing to fill funding gaps and support new housing development right here in Pottstown. I'd like to point out we've made some noteworthy progress over the last 2 years. I think back to a time where we didn't have a single shelter throughout Montgomery County once they closed Chalk in 2022. Since that time, thanks to your support and through the Montgomery County Commissioner's Office, we opened the former Days Inn, housing over 100 citizens who would otherwise be street homeless. It's also noteworthy that Lansdale Borough has stepped up to the plate, and they've helped stand up a 20-bed, year-round, 365-day shelter in Lansdale Borough. That's, of course, in addition to the one already existing in Horsham, and the new Norristown shelter scheduled to open later this year, which would be for up to 50 people. I'll turn it back to Doug.
So the Monco 2050 is an awesome document. If you haven't had a chance to look through it, it's really worth the time. And I grabbed a couple of numbers from them that's pertinent to this discussion. 26.7% of the households in the county are rent burdened or mortgage burdened. The report acknowledges that the price of housing is the main driver for homelessness and for risk of homelessness, for evictions. And you can see there the numbers that they predict for to be needed by 2050. So it's important to realize that we're not just going to endorse attainable housing. We also want to maintain the progress that's being made in the borough by various groups, paid and bid, or notably. But we need to keep both things in mind, right? So we want to have disposable income coming in. We want people who can afford to support our businesses, but we also need to have a place for the people who work in those businesses to live. And right now in Pottstown, if you're a $15 to $20, even $30 an hour employee, it's very difficult to find a place to live. So we're hoping to develop a situation or an environment where both of those things can be attained. Back to Mike.
Yeah, so with your approval, what we'd like to do is come back on a somewhat periodic basis, maybe once a quarter or so, to report on our work, what we're up to, what the coalition members are doing. I think that's a great way to keep the dialogue going. And also the second thing, through the Pennsylvania Housing Equality Center, I've obtained a pretty good supply of 3 or 4 key publications, basically to know your rights as a renter, fair housing guide for consumers, property and landlord manager guides. If it's okay with you, we'd like to keep a small supply of that at Borough Hall, perhaps on the second floor, where you do have some publications set aside. So that's just a small ask that we have for you. I also have a summary of the Housing Action Plan. I tried to condense 44 pages into 3 pages for you. So I'll circulate that around the table. I believe I have 9 copies for you. And with that, just wanted to open up the questions, right?
Happy to entertain any questions.
I got a question.
Okay.
You talk about new developments. Where in Pottstown, other than 2 or 3 places that I can think of, you would expect to have new developments?
So that's one of the big issues with Pottstown, right? We're landlocked, we can only
We're built
can only
out.
work with the properties we have.
Right.
We do have some thoughts that we're tossing around. I don't know that I want to get into specifics today without talking more with the coalition. We're a new entity, and we've gotten to this point where we all agree that this was kind of our 30,000-mile overview. We are discussing that in more detail in our meetings.
Okay.
And so one of the things we could do is if you're willing to let us come back on an
Oh,
occasional
I am, of
basis.
course.
We can maybe have some better answers on that,
Okay, sure.
as far as specifically how to handle that.
In the streetscape report, there is a catalog of properties, and I believe they identified some properties that could be used in terms of development. So I remember correctly from the report the presentation that I attended over at the college, they had talked about some of the properties that they had identified that had potential. And there was obviously a conversation that ensued around where those properties were located, but I think that having some sort of, report of a catalog of the different properties gives kind of an idea of where there's potential.
Yep, absolutely. I was at that presentation. That's a great, the streetscape looks really exciting. And the nice thing about that, it's not my baby, but the nice thing about that is that there are lots of ways you could use it, right? You don't have to agree to do everything. You don't have to agree to do the most expensive thing. But I thought they were really smart and attractive ideas.
Yeah, I agree. I was there.
Thank you, everyone.
Question,
Okay.
I have
Oh.
one question for you.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the why now slide? I wanted to look at one of those numbers there. And thank you for putting this together, first of all. I mean, this is important work,
It's not, I'm saying yes, but I'm not the only one involved.
Sure.
We know.
This is, obviously there is a nationwide housing shortage.
Yep.
Right? And I think that, the governor's initiatives are well-meaning, broad initiatives, right? But I think it's our goal to, and our challenge to make sure that we're looking at Pottstown-specific data, which you've started to do here, along with our history, right? How we got to where we got to make sure that we're right-sizing these policies that are developed on a national or even a state level to the specific needs of Pottstown, which is very unique, not just in the region, but in terms of our demographic, our urban patterns, our distribution, our transportation, but in Montgomery County, right? So the numbers are important, but I was wondering you say that 59.8% of all renters are housing cost burden, paying greater than 30% income on housing. How is the housing cost defined? What?
Well, the statistic is actually the amount of their salary that they're paying. So the statistic that I use there is referring to if an individual is paying 40% of their personal income, household income, on their rent or their mortgage, then they are cost burdened. So it wasn't relating to what it is categorized by how much their house is worth or how much they're paying. I didn't make use of that data, though. I just used it as, these are people living in our community.
You took this from the U.S. Census Bureau.
Yep.
How does the U.S. Census Bureau define housing costs?
Rent and mortgage?
So, do you want to handle that one, Mike? You have a better idea?
I mean, is there a definition for it? I don't know. I mean, you shared some of the data and I dug into it, and thanks for pointing me in the right direction. But I wasn't sure if they had a definition for what housing cost is.
Yeah, so broadly speaking, it would simply include the rent or the mortgage.
The rent or their
That-
mortgage?
That's correct. Now, sometimes when you get into like a first-time homebuyer situation, like I was able to benefit from with the local land trust, they actually include utilities in addition to your rent payment. So they look at like all the major utilities plus rent, and they want to try to keep you at 30% or less.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
yeah, that's the standard.
Right.
But how does that number factor in the 1,500 residents that are receiving Section 8 voucher or housing voucher choice programs that are already in public housing or that are already in a group home situation, which you can argue that that's a form of affordable housing. I mean, $800 a month, who's paying that? So that's why I'm asking, how is housing cost defined? Because if the subsidy for housing voucher choice in the borough is $2,300 for a three-bedroom, are they, when the census is asking that question, is the respondent telling them, my rent is $2,300, but it's being subsidized by HVC?
Right, I got you. Yes. So just for a little bit of context for the rest of the council here. So throughout Montgomery County, there are 2,400 roughly households that receive what's called the Housing Choice Voucher. And the way that works is you get, so you have a voucher and you contribute 30% of your income to your rent. And then the Montgomery County Housing Authority through HUD, they make up the rest. And so we did get some numbers on this from Joel Johnson, the executive director. There are 415 housing vouchers in use in Pottstown Borough, and that's current as of, I want to say, February or so. And we also noted, right, Doug, that that's about 10% or less of Pottstown's total housing market. So 415 out of about 2,400 households. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, so those numbers, I had a conversation with Joel Johnson about that, just to make sure we were, using the correct numbers. And I guess the issue that I was highlighting here was more the impact on the household income rather than the cost of their home or of their rent.
Right, but if you have a lower income, which unfortunately, a lot of residents in the borough do have a lower income, you then sometimes can qualify for subsidized housing.
Right.
So my question is does this number include, somebody that has a $30,000 a year income, for instance, but is receiving a $2,300 monthly housing voucher choice? When they ask that question, what is your housing cost? Is that based on the actual rent or that HVC is covering, or the 30%? Because I'd like to see a definition for that, because otherwise these numbers can be like way off by half. Because we have, like I said, we have 1,500 between HVC, the people that are already in public housing, and this,
Well, that number includes
the
the towers and Hope Village.
correct,
Gotcha.
and the recovery homes. That's 1,500. So that's more than half of your number there. That's why it's important we know what the definition of that is, because that number may not be as high if they're not already factoring in the people that are already on a subsidized rent.
So it's my understanding that the census would poll all of those people because they're citizens, right? So they're just going to ask them the same questions they ask you and I. And when they state their rent, they would actually be to the good of this number because they are subsidized. So if they're paying 30% of their rent, because that's the agreement that they make with the county, then they wouldn't appear as being rent burdened.
Yeah.
They would be on the other side of that equation and actually helping us have fewer people who are rent burdened.
Correct.
Does that make sense?
If that's how it's defined, but it didn't sound you were 100% sure.
I
that's
will
how it's
confess,
defined.
I'm not 100% sure, and neither was Joel Johnson.
Right.
So.
I think that's an important
And
question
neither
to
was
ask.
Pottstown Regional Community Foundation.
Yeah,
We needed, I mean, to actually get that information, I would need to get somebody who's a census specialist.
right, right.
Or
And
talk
I
to
know,
census.
we know this, you dig into this census data and it's complex and it's hard to.
Yeah, it is.
And I appreciate you going through it and willing to ask the questions so that we can make sure we're getting accurate information.
Absolutely.
We're
And
re-
again,
yeah.
if you're willing to have us come back, we'll try to have a better answer for you next time
Yeah, that'd be great.
on that particular issue.
So I had a question too on the proposed zoning changes. What's considered shared housing? What type of arrangements is that looking to promote through the zoning ordinance?
Yeah, so what the governor's team saw when they looked statewide is that they saw a good handful of townships still requiring folks in an apartment situation or in a shared housing situation where they've required them to have a family relationship. Translation, if you're an adult, they wouldn't allow you to have a roommate. And so, to my knowledge, Pottstown does not require that, of course, right? But I put that in there as just an example of one of my goals, one of the group's goals is to increase new opportunities for shared housing. And I kind of highlight the one that PA Department of Aging does with Montgomery County, where they basically try to match people up in homes where they almost have a roommate type of situation, right? Think of like an empty nester who might have 3 bedrooms they're not using, and there's a 30-year-old who might pay the rent and you could help around the house. So they try to forge those types of relationships. Yeah.
I understand that relates to the definition of how we define family in the ordinance related to single-family uses.
And also, just a quick note on the ACS survey. As you know, the census is conducted every 10 years.
Yeah.
The ACS every 5 years, I believe, right? But it's not as thorough as the census. So I want to point out that when we're using numbers based off the ACS, the likelihood that they're polling a good sampling of folks with housing choice vouchers is probably not that high, right? It's kind of like a sampling thing. But I get your point, though, Justin. Yeah.
I have a quick question. How hard would it be for Pottstown Housing Coalition to send out like Pottstown-centric census?
Difficult.
Well, the hospital has recently done a survey that was pretty extensive on earnings and health care and access to health care. And that is a very powerful report that I don't know if anybody's had a chance to look into it, but it may provide a lot of what you were looking for already there.
Okay. Thank you.
But, we would certainly be willing to entertain being more involved as a coalition in providing that information in the future.
I have one more question. You said you want to be able to come back. What information are you going to come back with, and will we be able to ask more questions? Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's a valid question. And I think, well, for right now, I just got 4 things that I could work on for the next
Okay.
meeting, right? And we're hoping that as we get more into the particulars of what we are advocating for, and again, I'll just say as an aside, one of the things that's exciting about this is how many things we are already agreeing on, even though we are coming from completely different, original looks at these issues. But we're saying, like maybe every 3 months, quarterly.
Yeah, because I would like to understand more about what you're asking for. I don't know what the real ask is, other than just to come back.
We're not asking anything right now.
Okay,
We don't need
all
any
right.
money. We don't need any particular ordinances or anything right now.
All right, everybody's always asking. No.
Yeah, no.
No.
We just want to be able to come back and tell you what we're doing again.
Fantastic.
And now, I can't say at some point, we
Of
might want
course.
some ordinances to be looked at. But that's the direction we're going, not so much, shovels in the ground kind of thing for us.
Thank you.
Sure.
So I think it's staggering to see, like, if we can verify these numbers, that 60% are housing cost burden, because it would be very interesting, because Pottstown, I mean, we're already the most affordable place in the region, the most affordable place to live in Montgomery County. What's your plan in terms of, are you speaking to other municipalities about this issue as well, or is it just Pottstown?
Well, our current sort of agreement is that we are Pottstown-centric. that we are interested in working for the betterment of Pottstown. As I have started with this work in my retirement, I've found that I have to very carefully keep my focus laser tight, because this, as you said, is a national and really worldwide issue. And sure, we would love to involve neighboring communities, because obviously that's an important part of the equation. I was involved in the mayor's strategic plan where we discussed that in pretty detailed report. We could get that up again and pass it around to you guys. We handed it out, oh boy, it's probably about a year ago now. But it definitely addressed that particular issue, and that could maybe be a good starting point for how we would.
Yeah. 'Cause I mean, I just say that
collaborate.
because we know that people are moving here from Phoenixville, from other higher cost places because of the affordable prices in Pottstown, which in turn makes our values go up, right? So if you could focus on the municipalities that have already had exponential rises in property value and housing costs, you could help keep some of those people there, right? And prevent the costs from rising so much here. So that's why I say I think it's important to talk to other people in the region, other people in the county that certainly have more funds, more resources to be able to even maybe subsidize something like this.
So potentially, that makes me think of a presentation to the Pottstown Metropolitan Regional Planning Commission.
Yeah,
They would be a good
absolutely.
audience for that particular kind of topic. And we
Absolutely.
would certainly be willing to do that. Mike and I have already spoken to them informally.
Yeah.
And, yeah, we would definitely be interested in getting into that.
Just to add on to that real quickly, out on the other side of the county, Upper Gwinnett, I don't know if you saw, but back in November, the township commissioners approved 60 workforce apartment kind of townhomes. That was a big deal, because that really, it was a fraught issue at the local level, a lot of NIMBYism, but they kind of rose past that. And I think when you see more townships like that saying, hey, we're going to be part of the solution too. We shouldn't have all of our lowest cost rentals just in Pottstown or just in Norristown. We should look to lift up all of our workers all across the county. So that was a positive sign. Hopefully we can keep that going. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for your questions.
Thank you,
Zach said he
Justin.
thinks Joe has a question, so we're gonna. Oh. Okay, I guess his question is gone. Anybody else have anything they'd like to ask us while we're here?
I will just note that the reason I bought my house here, I came from Delaware County, was affordability. I would not have been able to get a house where I lived for what I could buy a house for in Pottstown.
Same, that's why I moved here in 1992.
So I think we do have some affordable housing. And Justin, I thank you for your questions and statements. They were really good. And I agree with asking other municipalities. I mean, we are built out, we have taken our fair share of helping. And I think when you talk about parking and dense housing, you would be better off looking at places that have more space, that are equipped to do that, that probably should take on some of that. So thank you for your questions and your statements, and that was just my
Agreed,
statement.
you've all shed some light on what we're all working together.
I
to
will
accomplish.
mention, sorry, that Monco 30% and Mike does do a lot of these presentations in different municipalities. I've been to one in Lansdale, so we do meet, try to meet monthly, but all the municipalities are invited, and a lot of them do attend those meetings as well.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, the next presentation is the tree fund proposal.
Hi, I'm Tom Hilton here on behalf of Trees Incorporated nonprofit that was incorporated in 1983 to plant and maintain street trees in Pottstown. We have planted about 2,800 new and replacement trees since then. Among the trees that we planted were ash trees, which has been a very long traditional street tree in Pennsylvania and other states. But long after we planted those trees, an insect was accidentally imported from China, known as the emerald ash borer, which only attacks ash trees and it kills them very quickly. So since about 2005, literally more than 1 billion trees have been killed in the United States by the ash borer. We have 120 ash trees, street trees, that we're trying to protect. There is a way to protect them for a 3-year period. You drill holes in the bottom of the trunk and you inject an insecticide, and that will kill off the ash borers for a good 3 years, but you have to keep doing it. So we've done it now 4 times, and we're ready to do it a 5th time. It's going to cost about $20,000 to protect those 120 trees. And meanwhile, the borough has a tree fund, and this tree fund comes about because when developers come to Pottstown and they don't want to put in all the trees that are required by the subdivision ordinance, they can make a $500 donation to this tree fund instead. And the tree fund right now, I understand, has $15,580 in it. And so we are asking for $10,000 from the borough, from this tree fund, that would pay half the cost of treating these trees. In the interest of time, I'll stop there. If anybody has anything else you'd like to ask?
So this is for when the developers give money for the tree fund, it goes into a fund.
Right.
What do we use that for, Justin? Does it sit there, or do we use it? Is there other things, because I don't want to deplete something that.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And Tom met before he came with this proposal to make sure that, I felt comfortable with what we had left in there. But that fund can only be used to maintain or plant or remove dead street trees.
Dead, or it can't be used to treat trees?
It can be used to treat,
Okay.
maintain. That would come under the maintenance.
Cool.
So, I feel comfortable with this proposal. I want to have a little bit of funding left back. I think the 5,000 will get us enough if we have a couple trees that we need to maintain or replace. But the fact of the matter is that the borough has been doing this for years with Trees Inc., and they can do it at a much lower cost than we can as a nonprofit entity. And in fact, Tom has the tree list for the borough that he shares with us, and he updates, and very meticulous with it. And we will have to pay somebody to do this when Tom no longer.
No, if that's what it was there for.
So-
That's what it was there for. This should be not one of the harder decisions we have. Okay, if that's what it's there for, and you collected it, basically.
Yeah.
All right.
Of course, if we don't treat the trees, they're gonna die, and we'll have to take them down. That's very expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's more of an expense in the long run, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Thank you. Okay, we have zoning applications, 79 North Hanover. Matt?
Yeah, thank you, President Lindsay. This is a project you're familiar with. This is an application to the Zoning Hearing Board for 79 North Hanover Street, which is in Councilor Vanny's ward. If you recall, the applicant had submitted an application for a bunch of variances and appeared before you in February. You had authorized the issuance of a letter of objection to that application for zoning relief. The applicant has since revised the overall plan and reduced the variances that they're seeking. The applicant's attorney is here with us this evening to present to you on that, and the floor is yours, Mike.
All right, thank you. Matt gave a great summary. We were here, I guess, at the committee of the whole meeting back in February with a presentation regarding the plan that we had submitted at that time with a zoning hearing board application. At that time, it was proposed that it was going to be a row of townhouses, and that project needed approximately 11 variances at that time. Council at the time chose to submit a letter in opposition to that project with the number of variances that were presented. Subsequent to that, the applicant has had communications with borough staff to see how they could minimize the amount of zoning relief that's needed to develop the project, as well as alleviate any concerns that regarding safety, circulation, what the buildings would look like, those type of things. And has had several discussions. The plan has been revised to convert it to 6 twin units, so three pods of 2. We minimized the zoning relief now to 4 total variances. We did attempt to get it down to 3 by eliminating the front yard variance on Chestnut, but based on discussions with the fire marshal and such, it was suggested to move those houses back up to the line where the church was along Chestnut to give better circulation around the rear of the property. So the 4 variances that are being requested are with regard to the front yard along Chestnut Street, the rear yard. We're providing a 44-foot rear yard where, based on the analysis of the neighborhood, it would require 53.88 feet. Without variances, really, the units could only be 10 feet deep. So you either have to give some on the rear yard, some on the front yard, balance it in between, and that's kind of what we did. The other 2 variances relate to the location of the access drive on, I'll call it the western side of the property. We're requesting to allow the 12-foot access drive and also the fact that it runs along the side of the houses where the ordinance says that they want access for the rear. We need a variance for it to be located there. Now, although that they're asking for a 12-foot width driveway, there are provisions of the ordinance that allow in the conservation districts access drives between 8 feet and 20 feet. So there is some conflict between what's provided in the ordinance related to the conservation districts in relation to other provisions in the ordinance. So we requested that variance or an interpretation that one is not needed. But to point out, this property butts up against another property where its access drive, another 12-foot wide access drive that runs behind the property. So effectively, you're going to have a 24-foot wide driveway there with the 2 driveways together, basically opening up sight distance and the ability to turn and access Chestnut Street and turn into Chestnut Street. And to help point it out, the other access drive runs right along here and then goes, this is part of that other person's property, and it comes down into here. So that effectively would improve the situation over what was there previously, where the church came right up to the rear property line. The only access back there would have been on the 12-foot wide access drive of the neighboring property. There also, if you go down Chestnut Street, there are access drives on the opposite side of the road that access the rears or the sides and the rears of property similar to what is being proposed here. With regard to any of the other variances that were being sought related to height, architecture, any of them, they've all have been removed. Can you put the rendering up? In the discussions with the staff, the applicant has also had discussions with Tom Hilton related to Harb and, trying to maintain the historic character of the property. If you remember what was previously being proposed, although there was some brick and other materials along Chestnut Street, what was facing Hanover Street was siding, a tall peaked roof. Now you have a more, I'm going to call it a flat roof because I don't know what that is actually called, but fitting more into the character or historical nature of of the borough, showing brick on all sides, on the sides facing the road, extending that wall, using the bricks from the existing church to extend that wall along the frontage, with some garden areas in the frontages and some ornamental fencing along the fronts of the property. Also, I think you see the curbs would be fixed to be ADA compliant along the frontage. And the applicant's hope is to come back here, maybe get the support of council to move this forward. The property, as we discussed before, was subject to the fire back in November. My understanding is the sidewalks and the rights-of-way have been cleared, but the property itself has the remains of the building here. The applicant is looking to get a project approved to obtain the funding to be able to clean up the site and develop the project. Thank you.
Even though we're not really evaluating aesthetics, but that's significantly better than you proposed before. I think it's a mansard roof or some way of trying to replicate it. Yeah, that's why it's so devastating when things, like the church burned down or even our houses. You really can't replicate them anymore, but that's a good college try.
And what I'd also like to point out is just if it gets zoning approval, that the project's not approved. It needs to submit a land development application, go through review by the planning commission. I believe it's, subject to HARB review. And, that process, they get to review the architecture along with that for compliance in that area. So just, we're showing something that we hope you appreciate, but at the end of the day, the planning commission and HARB would have further weigh in if other elements needed to be worked into this.
It's the only drawback, you won't be saving that vestige of the church, correct? It looks like there would have to be
No.
a setback, right?
Well, that required an additional variance to be able to do that, so that was removed from the project, requesting a front yard variance along Hanover Street. But I guess if it can be worked, it's in some way worked into the wall or whatever, that can be explored.
So I am pleasantly surprised to see a much better idea for that site. My original concerns remain about previous developments. My issue here would be, I would like to see the site cleaned up before anything else goes through. Would you, and correct me if I'm wrong in saying anything here, would your client be open to something like cleaning up the site within 30 days and then asking for a letter of support?
The answer is no. Well,
Okay.
the answer is to get the funding to clean up the site, he's going to be asking for a loan, and that loan is going to be contingent on a development plan being approved and recorded.
And I understand that.
Yeah.
But that is not having insurance to take care of that is not my issue. It's not Pottstown's issue. That site has sat like that since February. That's disgraceful. For somebody that has built here, that continues to build here, that touts investments and money, to allow that site to remain looking like that is disgraceful to me. And I'd like to see that.
I understand your concerns, but again,
Well-
my understanding, there is no funding to clean up the site until a construction loan's approved for a project.
That's unfortunate.
So there's no funding of his own?
That's my understanding.
Okay. Okay, so should we be concerned that he doesn't have any funding to clean up a site and that he needs to borrow more money to do it? He doesn't have the ability to do that, correct? He doesn't have the funds to clean up the site.
I don't know that like I said, my understanding is to invest more money into this property, he's going to need to secure a loan for a project.
Okay, that's interesting. But I will say, tell him that is a much, much lovelier vista. And you cut down the variances, which is
Right.
a good job.
Now,
And that's beautiful. I think, did you work with Mr. Hilton with that?
I believe the applicant did. I did not myself.
Well,
Yes, the applicant.
that has Mr. Hilton's name written all over it. They should put it- The Hilton, there should be a stone that says Hilton in there. But
And
it's,
I would also suggest if part of the letter of support from council was conditioned upon the site being cleaned up. Now, I'm going to say, I would hope if we got a verbal approval at the next zoning hearing, which is April 22nd, they could begin moving forward with plans, get them in with 30 days, and yeah, I'm trying to think of a time frame that he can get a plan approved and recorded to try to expedite this, but, I mean, that's still probably a 6-month process.
So it was my understanding through previous conversations with the owner that there was a possibility that funding for the cleanup could be granted by the lender upon zoning approval.
I tried to clarify that with my understanding in recent discussions with him is there's no funding unless a plan's recorded.
So land development plan.
Correct.
Okay.
And then again, I know there was that was an understanding, so
Right.
I went to him to clarify that.
Right.
And it was that a plan needs to be recorded. Now, I don't know if things have tightened up since we heard the uncertainty of funding that's going on now. I also know that his funding is contingent on based on the land acquisition cost, the cost of cleanup, and the cost of construction, that I'm like getting tongue-tied. The 6 units are required by the lender for funding here as well. Because questions have been asked in the past, like, can you go down to 4? Can you go down to 5? The answer is it needs to be 6.
Well, I think you heard council, whatever can be done to expedite the cleanup
Yes.
as a part of this would be helpful. So hopefully your client can consider that.
And I think, I think, hopefully it would be considered if it looks like things are being moved along and not being hindered, then maybe he would be encouraged to seek alternate ways of funding it.
yeah.
Yeah,
If
because that's
things are
important.
done the right way, this is something I could consider supporting, but it needs to be done the right way. There needs to be accountability, and it's not good faith because there is no good faith. I would need something personally that site would be cleaned up in order to get, I'm one of 6, 7, but approval, a letter of support. For me to support that, I need that site cleaned up.
Yeah.
Well, and
Let's
again,
stop.
I said I would recommend that there could be conditions of the approval, that it would be done within a reasonable timeframe after the zoning approval. I'm suggesting 6 months. You could also suggest that nothing, well, obviously, it needs to be cleaned up to start building it, but nothing else would happen here until it's cleaned up.
So would there be any agreement? Because maybe I don't fully understand, but it sounds like we would give you approval in hopes that you would clean up the
Well,
site.
you're not giving an approval, you're giving
Well, a letter of support.
a letter of support
you.
and suggesting a reasonable condition. That
Thank
goes
you.
into the zoning hearing board decision, that then would be enforceable by the zoning officer, and then could potentially be subject to citations and fines if he didn't comply with that.
I understand all that.
But, I mean, I don't know that it needs to be an actual if he doesn't appeal it, then he's agreeing to it.
I'm an untrusting person. I like an
Understood.
agreement. I like things written down. I like to be able to go back and pull documentation. So I understand what you're saying, but I'm not comfortable without some type of an agreement that he will follow through with what he says.
Okay.
sometimes what you're asking for, you would like us to give a letter of support, but that letter of support means nothing, correct?
What do you mean it means nothing?
It means nothing. We have no jurisdiction.
Well, that's
over it.
correct.
It means nothing.
Well, you
okay?
can, I mean, you can be neutral. I'd
All
rather
it-
you not,
all it
just
does
not
is it gives
oppose
us
it.
it gives us another chance to argue about something that we
Right.
feel it doesn't matter.
Right.
Okay? And also, what it also tends to do is that everybody's now coming in here asking for letters of support.
Mm-hmm.
And that just basically reduces the value of said letter if everybody's getting them like Carter's liver pills. Okay?
That is right.
So
And all-
unless, I'm of the point where, unless somebody's going to solve a social problem or a social issue, okay, for example, we did a lot of things with the Days Inn, okay? That was solving a pressing problem, okay? And there was some gravitas to this, okay? The best I can say is, I don't care. Do you know what I mean?
That's fine. Like I said, it would also be the opportunity to suggest a reasonable
Right.
condition to the zoning hearing board.
Right,
Like
but I'm
we-
not-
we
yeah,
do
but-
not oppose.
I'm going to
if
oppose,
there's-
I mean, I'm not leading to oppose something like that, okay? I can't say that. I don't know, support it because of there's other issues, but then just shut up and say nothing.
And that's your choice too.
Okay, I know that. Rarely
And
I do that.
And I agree with you. I mean, I think council, obviously I'd like support.
Right.
Second, I'd like, just stay neutral.
But our support doesn't
Opposition.
overcome the law the burden that you have to.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with it. So we're sitting here talking about something that's only just going to create arguments between us or contention. When our voices mean nothing. Nothing. Okay?
Right.
Or they're not, and if we chime in all the time, they will mean less than nothing.
And I agree with you.
Okay?
And I said, if this is a project that council feels is important to get this cleaned up and expressing to the zoning hearing board the urgency to expedite something like this, then maybe it is or isn't. I mean,
Obviously. But this is a significantly, when I saw this, I was like, oh my God, he used Hilton's thing. That's unbelievable.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's nice.
Thank you.
Okay.
Do anybody have any more questions? Oh,
If not, this is scheduled for a hearing on April 22nd at 7 PM. We can discuss this further in executive session tonight, and I did provide email guidance in advance for you to review ahead of Monday night's meeting. This will be listed, though, for discussion publicly Monday night for you to decide whether or not you want to take a position on this application.
All right. Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Zoning application 382 Union Ave.
Yeah, this is a second zoning application that's scheduled for a hearing also on April 22nd at 7 PM. This property is in Council Proxel's ward. I did provide email guidance in advance, and this is something we can discuss in executive session. But essentially, the property had a non-conforming structure on it. The property owner demolished the building, which eliminated any protections for the property. Put a permit in to rebuild the building, which is not permitted. The applicant has appealed the zoning officer's denial of the permit.
Okay, thank you. Okay, civil service list, Justin?
Yes, so just a little bit of background for some of the newer counselors or those that you may not recall. So the borough, to hire and promote police officers, we go through the civil service system to make sure that hiring promotions are based on merit, fairness, and standardized procedures rather than other influences. So what our process for that is that there's a testing and an eligibility list. So the competitive process starts with a written exam, a physical agility test, background check, interviews, and then candidates are scored and ranked, and an eligibility list is established in order of final scores. So when there's a vacancy on the list, the borough must select from the top candidates on that list, and the list remains active for a set period of time or until that list is exhausted. And then at which point, when the list is exhausted, council has to authorize the requisition for a new list. So The next couple of these are for more standard things like promotions. So we've got a sergeant's promotional eligibility list that we're asking for approval on, a corporal's promotion eligibility list, and a new police applicant eligibility list, and conditional offers of employment. So we are asking Borough Council to approve all these civil service lists and give conditional offers of employment to the candidates on the list. So these will, on item D, these will fill the current or soon-to-be open positions for police officer, and then all 5 will need to be entered into the police academy in July. So unless there's any questions, we would list that on the consent agenda for approval on Monday night.
Okay, and the Civil Service Commission?
Yes, so this is a separate motion that we would need on Monday night, since we will exhaust the list through the process that I just described. We will have to ask Borough Council to approve the Civil Service Commission to start testing process for the new police officers that we would like to have on the list for future fulfillments.
Okay, and the bid award, Brookside Park construction contract?
Yep, sure, and just to go back for 1 second.
Okay,
We
sorry.
plan to list that on the consent agenda for Monday night as well.
Okay.
The bid award for Brookside Park, so this has been a long time in the making. There's grant funding that has been assembled to pull this project off, so we're finally ready to make awards for the contractor, and we'll have that ready for you on Monday night.
Okay, and CDBG grant application, Ricketts, and then the GTRP, while you doing both Ricketts?
Yes, I can do both of these. These are both for the Ricketts Center. What we are doing, as you know, we've got $350,000 from the LSA grant to go towards the Ricketts Center. We have $3 million in overall improvements that are identified for the center. So we would like to seek additional improvements to the center through these 2 grants, and we can use the LSA grant as a match and leverage our money. So the previous LSA funding, we're allocating that towards renovation and architectural designs, transformer relocation and electrical work, and downstairs restroom renovations. If we are successful with the additional funding, we are hoping to install, at a minimum, enhanced upstairs restroom facilities, as well as interior and exterior accessibility improvements throughout the facility. And then we are also seeking funding to repair the gym flooring that was damaged due to the transformer vault that we will be moving. It's leaking into the building. So there will also be funds that would be left over if we were successful in both of these, and we'll be conducting, as a part of this work, a more in-depth architectural and engineering evaluation of the facility to help us identify and prioritize additional improvements and the phasing for those improvements over time. So it's kind of a lot of different funding sources put together here, really trying to recharge and reboot this center. It's been a long time since it's been renovated, and we're well on our way here. So we'd like to ask for that for approval, and we would ask that both of those get put on the consent agenda for Monday as well.
Okay, well, I have you. Flood mitigation program grant application.
Right, so this is the grant that we go after for the repair of stormwater arches. We have another priority repair stormwater arch at Farmington and Hanover Street that we would like to repair. The borough match for this is 15%, which could come out of our capital savings fund that we already have allocated for these arch repair projects. But it's likely we are also going to be applying for a PA small water and sewer or another grant source that would actually provide the match to this one. But that's what we've done in the past. So asking for approval of a resolution on Monday night, and we would ask this gets put on the consent agenda.
Okay, and alcohol consumption request for Sojourn?
Yep, so the Sojourn will be back this year, June 16th, from 5 to 9 p.m. They'll be doing their dinner, and they would like to have alcohol there in the park.
Okay, and street closure requests, field day activities for students.
Correct. So this is at the Wincroft School on May 29th, and it will include Rosedale Drive for a full block between Wilson and Mulberry Street during school hours from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I believe this is a closure that we have done in the past as well, so we would ask that this gets added to the consent agenda.
Okay, and this is a street closure for the presentation of the new marquee on Still River Playhouse.
Yes, the theater is asking for closure of High Street between Penn and Charlotte Street directly in front of Steel River from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. on Friday, April 17th.
Okay, and parking lot use requests? That's for the
Yes.
Children's Discovery Center.
Yes, so we had this event in, I think, 2 previous years now, where they've used our parking lot to let children climb on big equipment. I think we've even participated in it with some of our stuff. So we would like approval to use a portion of our parking lot for that, and that'll be May 30th, 2026.
Okay, thank you, Justin. Discussion Planning Commission's alternate members.
If you recall, I think it was back in February, you had 1 vacancy on the Planning Commission and 2 people had applied for it.
Yep.
Counselor Rose had asked the question whether one of them could serve as an alternate, and I gave incorrect information that night, under the impression that only alternates were available for the zoning hearing board. Under the municipality's planning codes, you are able to appoint alternates to the Planning Commission. An alternate member is able to participate in reviewing all applications, can ask questions, provide feedback. They're only able to vote, though, in instances where they'd be filling in for one of the regular members. I'd put out an email to council to see whether you were interested in advertising the alternate position, potentially for Ms. Purdy to participate or someone else who'd be interested. I know Councilor Rose was. If council has no objection to it, we can advertise this as a vacancy on the Planning Commission, which you would be able to make an appointment for in May. Any of you have any objection to that?
No.
Okay. We'll add that to the list then.
Just a correction, it would have to be appointment in June, because we would need to advertise it for at least 30 days per our policy.
Okay, thank you. Okay, upcoming board vacancies, Harb, 1 vacant 5-year term to expire April 1st, 2027, and 1 5-year term to expire April 1st, 2026. 1 applicant, and is that Miguel? Okay. And then we have Land Bank Board, 2 4-term terms to expire April 9th, 2026. 2 positions, 3 applicants. We have Ms. Durr, we have Ms. Penrod, and we have Mr. Hayes. Okay. Comments from citizens, Justin?
Yes, so first up, we have Jean Dugan, please.
I won't be stupid this time.
Okay, you look
I'm
like
in
you're
all
confident.
4 with the 79 Hanover Street. Okay, I can tell you right now, it's going to be better than a park sitting there. It's going to increase taxes in this it's going to help paying the taxes in this town. And with the way that looks, that's going to help the neighborhoods. And you're talking about cleanup. There's other things that have to be cleaned up before they clean that up in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Art Miller, please.
Hey guys, how you doing? I just wanted to come here tonight. It's been a couple months since it was done, but the parking lot's over, parking lot 3 and 4. Great job. Just want to thank the borough for actually doing that. It was way overdue to be done, so being that my shop is just adjacent to that, we get a lot of traffic that comes there. The borough representatives were fantastic. They coordinated with us because we have a lot of special cars right next to that parking lot. Public Works guys were fantastic working with us, so and the contractor, everybody did a fantastic job. I was very happy with how it went. So we have, with our business, we have a lot of customers that come from outside of the borough. And it's amazing to me that it's like when they're coming back and they've been there before and they come in, they're like, wow, that parking lot is great. That's amazing. The newer customers that come in, they just kind of take it for granted that it's always been that way. But it's nice when you're bringing the kind of cars that we work on that come in there. They appreciate that they've got a really nice place to bring their cars to get to us. So people notice, especially the people that come from out of town. They notice that, hey, the borough's actually done something about this, and it really gives them a really good their perception that things are actually happening here. So I just actually wanted to thank you guys for getting that done. Good job. But then as I was sitting here, listening to the Hanover Street issue, I couldn't help but wonder why that property owner isn't being fined basically daily for having that thing just sit there like that. There's no pain for him right now to just let it be. So, in my opinion, he should be getting significant fines every day to make it painful for it to just sit there and force him to sell it to somebody who does have the funds to do something with it. If he's broke and can't do anything, well, the fix for that is sell it and let somebody who can do something do something. But that wasn't why I came here. I came here to give you guys kudos, but I couldn't help but have that come up. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it for comments?
Yep, that
Oh.
concludes comments from citizens present.
Okay, so now we have counselors' general discussion. So I'm gonna start with you, Ryan.
I missed the egg hunt on Saturday. I had another one to go for a family, but it looked like it was a really good time.
It was.
Maybe next year.
It was nice, yeah. Lisa?
So, because we were talking about parks, I had a chance this weekend to walk somebody through Riverfront Park. And they were pleasantly surprised that we have such wonderful parks here, right next to 422, Hanover Street. You can hear the traffic, but that you can rent a bike if you're a resident, or you can borrow a bike is better to say. You can rent kayaks, you have access to the river. Our parks are clean and beautiful and well-kept, and it was a pleasure to be able to show off our parks to people that are from out of town. So thank you for that. The other thing, if you haven't tried it, Patricia's Soul Food. I never really ate soul food before. I had it once, I didn't like it. Her food is amazing, and I'm gonna tell you, don't get the cornbread because I am, but no, get the cornbread, it's delicious. I had some fish and the cornbread and some of the sides. Go visit her. I called to place an order. I'm assuming it was Patricia that answered the phone. She was lovely, she took my order, it was right, I went to pick it up. She was getting it ready, it was hot, the cold sides were cold, and it was just a beautiful meal, and it's very reasonably priced, so go visit her. I'm done. In Hanover Square, townhomes, next to Donut Envy.
Okay, hey, Ray, what you got for us?
I have an
You
excuse.
hungry?
Me
I
too.
think she does
This body
breakfast and
tells
lunch
you
too.
that I'm always hungry, but yes.
Go get it.
Now I have an excuse to go check that place out. I just wanted to thank you, Matthew, for the conversation, and thank you guys for engaging in that conversation. And I agree. I mean, I was in Riverfront. I got to help set up for the egg hunt, but wasn't there for the egg hunt because my youngest son and I went. We actually had a chance to go disc golfing, so we went disc golfing over at Kenilworth Park. Yeah, I mean, we have an amazing park system. I love to be over. I live 2 blocks from Memorial Park, so I try to be over Memorial Park as much as possible. And Riverfront Park is an amazing park too. They're great parks to run through. So, kudos to the work that you guys do. I mean, obviously the polar plunge is, it starts every year off great, and we have all kinds of other great events that happen as well as in our great parks. So.
Thank you. What you got for us, Joe?
This month I was lucky enough to go to a conference in San Francisco where I got to see the Golden Gate Bridge and kind of felt this sense of pride for knowing that that was built here, partially built here. While I was there, I was unfortunate to miss the open house at Vibe Cafe. But I kind of saw the parallels there of, great things that have been built here in the past, and the efforts of Denise and Vibe Cafe and all the entrepreneurs in town who are trying to build the next great thing from Pottstown. So I just saw that connection and wanted to make it here.
Thank you. Andrew, what you got for us?
Hey, just remind everybody, April 25th is going to be a big day. Everybody go out, clean up some stuff, rock the block, go to Edgewood Cemetery, clean up your town, make your town beautiful, okay? Because it's up to us, okay? We can't ask everybody else to do stuff. It's up to us. So I support that. You'll have me out. I'll be out there. Everybody be out there doing some good stuff. Other thing I wanted to talk about is I'm under a misinterpretation. I got things wrong sometimes. In other words, we assume something that people are always going to take care of something. They're going to take care of it, okay? But what I find is that if you see something that is not right, report it, okay? And they will take care of it. As a matter of fact, they are happy to take care of it. They want to take care of it. So if you see something that's not right, whether it's a car with 8 parking tickets, or whether it's a couch in the middle of or trash somewhere, report it. They'll take care of it. They do. Okay? And because they're not out looking for that. And if you assume that they're always going to see it, no, they're not. Okay? Because what we've gone to is a more complaint-driven society here in the borough. So we don't send out roving patrols, okay, to look out for things.
And we don't see social media either.
What?
We don't see social media. Because I work.
Yeah.
And I
So
drive a bus.
Please tell us, okay? Because we don't know. Because everybody here wants to do the right thing, and everybody in the borough that I've ever seen wants to do it too. And they will do it every single time. So don't think that because there's not roving bands of enforcement officers flying around picking out things,
Right.
that you can't get things done. Just see it, report it. Isn't there there's a little,
Absolutely.
see it, report it, they'll take care of it. Take care of it. All right? That's all I got.
Thank you.
Okay.
Joe?
Yes, I just wanted to voice a appreciation for the police chief and the police officers. We had a Coffee for Cops event at the Ricketts Center. And I wasn't there. I called and apologized because I knew I was working that morning. But I hear it was very, very, very successful. So I wanted to give them a call out and just appreciate the chief. I have a long standing history with the police department. Every time I needed something, they were always there. Every time I need to meet, I've been there 17 and a half years. Every time I had to meet with a constituent in front of their house, they were always there. I used to do town halls every now and then. They were always there. So I just wanted to give some appreciation to our police officers and the police chief. They're always, they make an extra effort to serve the community. And you know, me for one, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Joe.
Trinita, could I say one more thing?
Absolutely.
I forgot. Josh reminded me. You didn't miss the Vibe opening. It's this Saturday, the 11th.
Oh, great.
Yeah, that
You're
was the
welcome, because
soft,
I plan on going. I'm like, no, I didn't miss it.
that was the soft opening you was talking about.
Yeah.
It was a soft, yeah. I went to that one, yeah.
And I just want to mention, the Vibe is opening on Saturday, the 11th. First 50 guests get a free scoop of Brewster's ice cream. And it will be served fresh every day after that at the Vibe. I plan, once they're opening, I work from home, so I plan on going there and spending a couple of days and being able to work from there so I can be around some people. So
It's a
thank-
perfect place to go, yes.
Yeah, I can't
Yes,
wait.
the vibe, yes, nice area.
Yeah, I had a chance to go in there, and I ended up sitting there for 2 hours talking to Denise.
Madam Mayor, do you have anything?
I would like to reiterate what Councilman Manastra just stated and express to people that we have a website. It's called pottstown.org, www.pottstown.org. Okay, yeah, you don't have to. There is a button for residents, drop down, and you can complain about anything your heart desires. Whoever you would like to complain about in the borough, be it trash, an abandoned vehicle, some rowdy neighbors, whatever. Please don't think that if you put it on Facebook or message me on Facebook or text message us, that it is going to be resolved. We have a system, a very great system that they recently put in place to keep track of all of these complaints. And it is very easy to do. If you need a tutorial, I would be happy to come to your house and show you. So thank you, Andrew. And I also wanted to brag about Ray Rose's kids because, and all the Pottstown High School students that participated in the Descendants. But no, his kids were awesome. His son played trombone. It was pretty amazing. And my Strive Little was the fairy godmother. So I was very happy, and the kids did a great job. So kudos to your kids. Thanks.
Okay, all I want to say is, last meeting, when you guys wasn't here. Zach and Mike did a fantastic job that I have replaced you guys. No, I'm just
They
kidding.
refer to themselves as the B team, but they were not the B team.
Right, they did a really good job, so I just wanted to let you know they handled your things while you was gone. I just wanted to let you know that.
You'd be in good hands.
Yeah, well, I was. It was in good hands, and even Michael was saying, "Don't forget this." I said, "You sound like Pat over here," but they did a good job. I just wanted to let you know they did a good job. Okay, all right. I guess we got a possible.
Yeah, and I promise some of these will be short, but we have 2 matters of personnel and 3 of litigation.
Okay, you promise.
Yes, I promise I'll be
Okay,
short.
meeting adjourned. Be safe going home.